If you've been on YouTube in the past few years, you've probably seen lo-fi compilation videos. If you haven't, lo-fi is a popular genre of music today that is basically made to be played in the background. It uses simple and repetitive melodic lines and beats, as well as random ambient sounds like vinyl crackles and drizzling rain. But in the last year or so, compilations of lo-fi music on YouTube that sometimes even get millions of views and last for hours have gotten so popular. And viewers have commented that it helps them improve their productivity and their focus. Here's an example of lo-fi music you would find on YouTube today. At least, there we go. From a musical standpoint, the lo-fi genre is actually pretty unexciting and doesn't convey any particular message. But maybe the point of it isn't to convey any thoughts, instead a general mood or state of mind. In fact, I've been using a series of 3 different lo-fi videos that each last an hour long, uploaded by my favorite YouTube user, Chilled Cow, that are each titled 1 a.m. study session, 2 a.m. study session, and 3 a.m. study session. Some other genres that come to mind that do this include soft ballads on rainy days or upbeat, high-tempo songs on road trips. The music just seems to fit the occasion we play them in, but why? One way to see this is to look at what the factors of music are that cause us to feel certain moods. Whether it's a major or minor, how fast it is, and the intensity or volume can all affect how we feel when we listen to a song. In the music-making community, the general understanding is that music in a major key, like this, evokes happiness, and minor keys, like this, evoke sadness. Slower music like this makes us feel calmer and more relaxed than exciting, fast music like this. And louder music like this brings us more excitement and sounds more majestic than softer music like this. These are just a few examples of how music makers can change the features of their songs to change how we feel. I like to think of this relationship as a mixing board, which is the master control of a sound system where each channel is controlled by a slider that can be moved up or down. We can think of each musical feature as a channel. You could turn up the volume all the way, turn down the speed, or move the tonality from key to key. Each of these combinations make up the elements of the music we hear. And when we listen to them together, each combination evokes a different feeling. But how do we see this relationship, and how do we prove that people are actually feeling emotions when they listen to different music? A study in the American Journal of Psychology tried to show this relationship through a series of experiments. They developed a model of 8 different emotion mechanisms, which are different ways that our brain networks can affect how we feel when we listen to music. These 8 mechanisms they came up with make up the Breck-Fema framework. In this study, the authors designed 4 experiments that tried to manipulate one mechanism each. They looked at brainstem reflex, contagion, episodic memory, and musical expectancy. In each experiment, the subjects were asked to listen to the pieces that were selected by the experimenters that attempted to change one of these mechanisms. And as they listened, the experimenters gathered data about their skin conductance and facial feature. After they finished, they were asked to score their feelings by rating 15 different emotion adjectives, such as happiness, sadness, surprise, and calm, from 0 to 4, depending on how much they felt that emotion when they listened to the music. The results of this experiment were as expected. All 4 experiments achieved changing the mechanism that they were targeting. As most of the mechanisms get a bit ambiguous, I'd like to talk about the brainstem reflex. This mechanism is in charge of the responses to changes in loudness and speed, and the authors predicted that the brainstem reflex would have the greatest correlation with the surprise emotion. To better illustrate this experiment, I'd like to present a short excerpt from one of the pieces that they actually used in this experiment. This piece is Joseph Haydn's Symphony No. 94, which is also nicknamed the Surprise Symphony, and uses a sudden loud note called a sforzando. Here's what it sounds like. As this piece is literally nicknamed the Surprise Symphony and uses the 18th century equivalent of the jump scare, which I'm sure most of you probably felt when you listened to this, there's no surprise that the sudden changes in volume and speed cause surprise in the subjects when they listen to it. However, there's more to this study. The experimenters collected skin conductance and facial feature data in each experiment. In the brainstem reflex experiment, the subject showed higher levels of skin conductance, which indicates physiological or psychological arousal, as well as higher activity in their zygomaticus major, which is the muscle that allows us to smile. These physiological results checked out when they were compared to the emotion responses. And this study proved that instead of just perceiving emotions, we actually feel different emotions when we listen to music. A more tangible example of how music can change your mood is the use of music in film. Take the classic violin screeching sounds from the murder scene in the horror movie Psycho. The dissonance, or clashing of notes, the high pitch, and the repetition all evoke a tense and anxious feeling, which intensifies the scene that it was used in. Listening to this music while watching the killer approach his victim makes us all more tense and on edge. On the contrary, take this moment from the soundtrack of Avengers Endgame. The thick brass excerpt of this piece is definitely the main star, and as the characters prepare for the biggest battle in the movie, this music reflects their determination and spirit. The instruments change pitch at the same time, but play different notes, similar to how the protagonists are uniting together against their common enemy, but all bringing their own strengths. The use of music has many more layers, but the basis of its purpose is to support the action that we see on screen. In a way, the music serves to support the setting. Similar to the props and background that we see, the music we hear can also help us create the mood. As the American Journal of Psychology study showed, music doesn't just impact what we think, it impacts how we feel. In fact, this impact can even be seen in our brains, when different regions are lit up when we listen to different music. Recently, neuroscientists discovered that the brain doesn't work in individualized regions. Instead, these regions work together in interconnected networks that serve different purposes. The default mode network, or the DMN, is a set of these interconnected regions that are more active when we don't pay attention to the outside world. In an article published by the Music Educators Journal, the authors mentioned an experiment that tries to uncover this relationship between neuroscience and music. The subjects were asked to indicate their favorite genre out of country, classical, rap and hip hop, or rock. Then each subject was asked to listen to a song from each of these four genres, as well as one unfamiliar Chinese opera song. Each subject also listened to their own favorite piece of music. The study found that when the subjects listened to the music, their brains showed increased activity in their DMNs. When they listened to music that they liked, parts of the frontal regions of their brains that weren't previously active also lit up. The results showed that listening to music helps us look in or ruminate about our inner thoughts. Additionally, the results on familiar music show that the DMN is even more active when we listen to music that we like. Now, it's clear that music has an impact on how we feel, but how do we actually use this information in practice? As a musician and singer-songwriter, I can use what we know about music and mood to help me write. The function of my songwriting has stayed pretty much the same since I started in middle school. It's a way for me to express my emotions, ideas, and experiences. Sometimes these feelings can be a bit arbitrary, like why things taste saltier when we cry, but most times my songs revolve around the topic of social anxiety and mental health, as it's something I don't talk about very often. When writing songs that are meant for reflection, I find that slower, quieter songs tend to put me in a more serene mood. Of course, vocal songs also have lyrics, so I try to make the general mood of my words match my music. For example, my song Delusional is overall pretty quiet and has no sudden changes in volume, which helps connect the topics of social anxiety and self-harm to the music itself. I tried to convey reflection through both my lyrics and my music. And now, here's a clip from my song Delusional.
Oh, do I look alright? Tell me about my eyes. Do they twinkle like the night sky? Please mend my broken soul. Tell me, am I beautiful? Oh, maybe, or am I delusional?
Thank you. Most of the time, we think of music as a form of art. And as a flutist, singer, composer, arranger, and songwriter, I can't agree more. But as someone who is passionate about spreading music to the world, I like to present a different approach in which we can see music. What if music is more than just an art form? What if we can use music as a tool for our own benefit? The world of music therapy and music psychology is humongous and full of different opinions, but even in our day-to-day lives, there are ways that we can use music to our advantage. In fact, you might be already making these musical choices. Maybe you listen to lo-fi when you study, a song from your childhood when you're feeling nostalgic, an upbeat song on a road trip, or maybe just a sad song on a sad day. These connections might seem obvious, but I'd like to propose a way we can use what we know to our advantage. For example, if you're working on a task that requires deep internal thought, putting on your all-time favorite album might help you recall your old memories and provoke deeper thoughts. If you're really hyped up and you want to calm down, putting on a quiet ballad might smooth out your emotions and slowly bring down your excitement level. The late American artist Jean-Michel Basquiat once said that art is how we decorate space. Music is how we decorate time. Music is an art, a way of communication, a language, but it's also a decoration. Like how filmmakers use music to set the scenes of their movies, we can use music to set the scenes of our lives. Maybe that scene you want to set is a murder in the shower, a battle to the death, or maybe it's just a rainy car ride at 4 a.m. Thank you.